as I get. My name is Ruben Trevino. I am the Chief Diversity Officer here at V. I come to V with a background mainly in employee relations. I've been with the company just a little over a year and starting to transition into this new role of Chief Diversity Officer. Diversity, equity, and inclusion is certainly on the forefront of everyone's minds, not just in the corporate world, but out there in the real world. And, I think it is now sort of gaining the importance and the platform that it deserves in the corporate world. 20 years ago, about to graduate high school, I always had great grades. The grades was never an issue, but I never really had any aspirations to go to college. I think part of that was the town that I grew up in. Hammond, Indiana is a very diverse town. Population about 75,000, and it's roughly a third Hispanic, third African American, third Caucasian. I am Mexican American. Both my parents are Mexican and my dad's first generation. And I think that sort of set the precedence for us, grandparents coming here, parents being here. They both graduated college, teachers, still, I grew up in the same town that my grandparents came to when they came from Mexico. And it's really, what you would think of as a steel or rust belt town. And so, through the 70s and 80s, as those jobs started to go away, my town fell on hard economic times, but that's where I grew up. Only about 14% graduate from college. I think the thing that was different from me was that both my parents were teachers. They always instilled in me like a sense of how important education was. My plan was always to just go to the community college down the street and probably live at home. My mom was not interested in that at all. She could kind of see the path ahead of me if I stayed home, and it probably ended up getting in trouble and not graduating from college. I go to Purdue West Lafayette. One of my classes was part of a STEM program, which made me start school 2 weeks prior to everybody else. That really gave me the opportunity to learn the resources around me, make some friends that were from similar backgrounds, but that gave me a sense of community that I carried throughout all those 4 years of school. Without that, I would not have been successful and graduated from college. Outside of that STEM program my first year, I had another opportunity that, really opened my eyes to what these programs can do for you. And it was a minority internship program called Inroads. And this is really where I get my passion for diversity, equity, and inclusion, is being a part of this program. I'm very passionate about any programs that give individuals from diverse backgrounds that are underrepresented opportunities that may open their eyes and show them paths that are different than what's surrounding them and the environment they grow up in. V is part of the CEO Action Plan. The idea is to support diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts throughout corporations, and part of that is the realization that diversity, equity, and inclusion isn't a competitive issue. It's an issue that we can share experiences and resources. There are essentially 4 commitments that you're making when you sign on to this pledge. One such commitment is to continue to make sure that our workplaces are trusting environments in which difficult conversations around diversity, equity, and inclusion issues can happen, and that employees feel safe to talk about these issues. The other commitment that we make is to incorporate unconscious bias training in our workplaces. The third commitment that we make is to share our resources and our experiences, both what goes right and what goes wrong. The fourth commitment that we make is to create and share our diversity and equity and inclusion plans with our board of directors. For me, one of the biggest reasons and why I'm so excited about being the Chief Diversity Officer here at V is creating opportunities for individuals, whether it's helping to create a career path for a CNA to become a nurse, or somebody in housekeeping to become an operations manager. Creating those opportunities and those paths for individuals, I think, would make a huge impact, and that's what gets me excited about this role.